Alrighty guys, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. I need your help. This show does not run on sunshine and rainbows. And just for $2.50 a month, $2.50 a month, you can donate to help keep the show alive. And I really want to continue to do it. But if it's not financially suitable, then that's just not going to happen. How you can help is by joining on Patreon. You can join as a community supporter on Patreon, which is less than a cup of coffee anywhere on the planet. And if you want to go even further, you can unlock the Weekend Warrior or Hall of Fame tier list club membership on Patreon, which comes with a load of great perks and benefits, including 20% off your orders to Tactical Fishing Company, 15% off your orders to Super Blue Stuff, 10% off your order to Tiger Crankbaits, 5% off your orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle. You also get membership to our 4 fishing tournaments that we do for members only, including the Spring Bass Bash that's about to start in here in 2 weeks. Private Facebook group community, loads of member-only content, monthly fishing reports, ad-free episodes of the show, and so much more. It's going to be up to you guys and the community that helps keep this thing going. Thank you. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia, Tactical Fishing Company, and Fishing Pro Tech, located just outside Williamsburg, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today we are going back to some smallmouth water, a really, really cool river that luckily the Virginia biologist really turned me on to last year. And I'm going to have a local going fully in depth. We're going to be talking about so many cool things. I have on the legend, Dale Allison. He is a local down there, and we're going to be talking a lot about river smallmouth fishing. Sir, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to this opportunity. You mentioned the biologist. I actually saw your episode. I believe it was last year you did that, and I really enjoyed listening to what he said and so forth. 63 years old. I grew up on the North Fork. Been here my whole life and so forth. Grew up fishing it. Ran a kayak trail on it, started back in 2016, and I basically ran that until 2023. It's a good place to fish. And I'll also throw in there, not only did you have the biologist on, but Jeff Little did a video last year where he was on the North Fork of the Holston River, and we're talking Southwest Virginia, Southwestern Virginia, not West Virginia. Has nothing to do with West Virginia. We're in Virginia, the southwestern part, not too far from Bristol. So the river, the North Fork of the Holston, it actually starts up in Bland County, where they call Sharon Springs, and then it comes on into Smith County, runs through quite a bit of Smith County, quite a bit of Washington County, and then Scott County, and then finally it crosses over into Tennessee. And in Tennessee, in the town of Kingsport, or the city of Kingsport, it meets up with the South Fork. And so the North Fork and the South Fork meet in Kingsport, Tennessee, and then it becomes the Holston River and continues on until it gets into Knoxville, where it meets the Clinch. Then it becomes the Tennessee River. So there's your whole trail pretty much.
Well, and then with that said, I mean, you guys, as always with these episodes that are so much fun, is just to give everyone a visual. I got a little map here that we're going to be pulling up. The fascinating thing was, at least from the biology standpoint, let me pull this up thing here. I didn't realize that there was a little bit of an ecological issue there back with the coal mining in West Virginia. So, all right, let me pull this up here so we can all see the screen okay. Alrighty here. So I believe this is the Holston Lake. And so this is Ashley's. So I guess this is where the North Fork dumps into the lake, correct?
Okay, no. Now, so South Holston Lake, that would be the Middle Fork and the South Fork. You need to go north a little bit. Go across 81. Hold on. Yeah. Go on over past 81 a little bit. Continue north.
North? I'm in Meadowview?
No. You're going east. Go north now.
Oh, north. Okay. Near
okay, hold on just a second. Do you see Saltville? Right in the middle of the map, Saltville.
Yep.
North Fork goes right by Saltville. There it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you got North Fork, Middle Fork, and South Fork. Middle Fork and South Fork makes South Holston Lake. When the water leaves South Holston Lake, then it's just known as the South Fork. And then the South Fork and the North Fork will meet in Kingsport, Tennessee.
I did not know that. That is crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. How big is this width-wise? Like, you got into fish Shenandoah as an example, like the North Fork of the Shenandoah. Is it the same kind of width, or is it narrower?
Maybe just a tad smaller, especially up around Saltville and that area. Now, if you go further on downriver, still in Virginia, Washington County and Scott County, you get an area called Mendota. Mendota down, it starts getting a little bit wider down in that area.
Let me get, hold on a second, guys.
Mendota, Weber City, Gate City's close there, but river goes right by Mendota. That, and as far as our local area, that's pretty well known.
Holston, Mendota. Wow, this is crazy. This is so cool. Because like, this is like, I don't think I've ever been here or knew any of these towns existed. Sorry, everybody that lives in that area. This is, dude, there's so much water. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Holy
I
moly.
want to say the entire length, 137 is sticking in my mind, 137 miles in Virginia. Seemed like I remember seeing that number somewhere. So I sent you a map earlier. The furthest place north or upriver, about 20 miles above Saltville, a place called Chatham Hill. That's as far up as I've been and kayak down. I don't really think you could kayak much further than that. But I've done every inch of the river from Chatham Hill all the way down into Tennessee.
Wow.
Covered every bit of it at one time or another.
Dude, that is... that's crazy. I didn't realize like how big this is. And then it dumps into East Tennessee here, guys, now that I got my bearings. Okay. And it comes right down into here. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Is the river's topography and everything, does it stay the same? Just the places that you've gone, at least. Is it kind of the same through the whole thing, or does it change as you go from the headwaters, so to speak, down to Tennessee?
I'm going to say it's pretty much the same. Obviously, it's going to get a little bit bigger. I don't consider it a deep river, although you got some deep spots. Every now and then you'll run into 8, 10, 12 foot. And there are one or two holes that are a little bit deeper. The bottom is pretty much the same structure throughout. You don't have a lot of mud in it, a lot of gravel, a lot of rock, ledges, shelves, and so forth. Nothing like the New River, but it's got some of that type of structure. Rapids, not really bad at all. Now, so in the Saltville area, you've got 3, to my knowledge, I don't, unless they've put another one in somewhere, and I've not heard of anything. You've got 3 boat ramps on the whole river. 2 of them are in the Saltville area. You got one above Saltville, you got one below Saltville. As far as catching fish, that's a good place to catch fish on those 2 floats. You're real close to the upper boat ramp there. No, you're going too far now. Come back.
Too far? Wow.
Come back down the river a little bit.
Let me raise it out a little bit.
Stay on the river. Come down. Right there it is. Top left
there it
corner.
is.
There it is. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's about, I want to say 4 miles from boat ramp to boat ramp. But it's one of the roughest sections of the entire river. That bridge right below there is a little rough underneath that bridge. So the summertime, now you can see how it looks right there. It's not deep, but in the summertime, it's so shallow, you would have to get out and walk your kayak down through that. When the water's up, it becomes a class 2 or a class 3 rapid. So you've got that type of thing 3 more times on down the river. There's a highway just down below. If you keep going on down the river, There's a highway crosses down there at a place called Allison's Gap, and there's a rapid or a shoal right in there.
Oh, wow.
See that shoal below that little bridge?
Yeah.
That's water gets up there, that turns into a class 3 or class 4.
Really?
But now when summertime, when the water's low, you've got to get out and walk right there. Now let's move upriver just a little. Let me show, since you got it right there, hang on right just a second. See where it says Allison Gap Bridge?
Yes.
Just to the right-hand side of that, on the building side over here. Can you put your other side, right in there? You can park right there, and you can either get your kayak out if you're coming down river, or you can start right there.
Okay.
And a lot of people will park right there and go up the river wading and so forth and fishing. But that's a good place to get in and take out. Now, if you want to, let's move up the river a little bit.
Okay. So I'm going to go up the river here. And is this a warehouse? What is this thing, this building?
Okay, let's stay right there just for a minute. So years ago, they left in 1970, but some of their buildings are still here. Years ago, there was a chemical plant here known as Olin Matheson Chemical Corporation. And they worked with sodium, alkali, mercury. They were responsible for something that was in the fuel that was used in the Apollo missions. Anyway, downriver just a little bit, there was a place next to the river, always referred to as the Muck Dam, and that's where they dumped their chemical waste. Well, it was an earth dam, and so it seeped through the earth dam into the river, and so there's warnings all up and down the river not to eat the fish because of the mercury contamination. I've heard people say that you'd have to eat a truckload of fish before it would even affect you. But the good thing about it, people listen to that, and so they don't eat the fish. So they leave the bass alone. It's a good thing, if you will. A little history, that dam broke on Christmas Eve, 1929, and there was a little community down below it known as Palmertown, and several people lost their lives on that night, Christmas Eve, 1929. So that's the remains of the Olin Matheson Chemical Corporation. Another business has been in there since then, Dotson Wheel, and I worked there for a little while when I first got out of the Army. They made rims for Caterpillar, and then they sold, and it was known as Titan Wheel. But they've been gone for, I'm going to say 10 years. It's been a little while. But right there at the end of the building, just slightly above it, you can see some white water right in there. Go up just a hair. That's the remnants of an old dam. And I'll usually walk my kayak like down through the middle. You can stand on the dam right there and use your lead rope or whatever, lead strap, and just sort of walk your kayak through there. Some people could probably run right through it. I'm the guy that I don't want to turn over. I don't want to lose a rod, so I just play it safe a lot of times. So from here up, the water gets a little bit deeper, 8 foot maybe. That holds some really good fish right there. Now, if you look at those little islands, those are man-made islands. The Olin Chemical Corporation, and there's some of their buildings right there. I'm assuming they ran some type of pipe probably set on those islands. But now when the river gets up, especially the wintertime, I've walked up that road and went right up in that area. We call it bank robbing. Those smallmouth will come over there and get right behind those islands out of the current. And man, you can throw a jig or tube in there and you can catch some good fish right there.
Dude, that is so cool. Wow.
Yeah. Years ago, I'll tell this one real quick. Years ago, I had a John boat, and my wife, Sherry, and we put in on up the river and floated down, fished the far bank down to the dam, turned around, came back up. And so we're fishing each one of them islands, and we're staying out in the river, but we're pulling up next to them. And she's throwing on the upper side of the island. I'm throwing on the lower side. We were fishing live bait. We were fishing minnows, and I'm pulling 4 or 5 red eyes out each time, and she's not really getting anything. And anyway, we work all the way up to that last island. She says, well, I'm going to throw in your spot this time. So she drops her line back there at the back of the island, back of the boat where I'm at. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll just throw in your spot. I put my rod over hers and dropped it in there. And we didn't carry fish scales or a measuring device or anything back then, but I landed one of the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught right there. And it come up out of the water, and she screamed and everything. But it was a really good fish, and it came from right there. And I'll tell you this one also real quick. If you follow the river, go up around the bend right there, and you see right there, stop right there. Okay, so that was part of Olin Matheson also, but the last outfit was Texas Gulf. And so I got out of the Army in 1988, and there's a rock quarry filled with water close to Saltville, loaded with largemouth bass and crappie. And I took my son. He and I went over there every day for a year, or not for a year, for a week. We took my John boat, and I had one of those baskets you hang over the side in the water, and you put your fish in there. So every day we filled that basket full of fish, largemouth and crappie. I had a cooler in the truck. We filled it with water. We'd take the basket when we were leaving. We'd set the basket in the cooler. 5-minute drive right in there to where you've got the map right now in that where Texas Gulf was at. I'd go to the office. I say, hey, I'm going to put some fish back here in the river. Do you mind? And of course they said, yeah, go ahead. So I dumped largemouth bass and crappie in there, a cooler full every day for 7 days. You can now catch largemouth and crappie all up and down the river. Now, I'm not the only one that's done that. Other people have helped stock, if you will. And I'm going to show you where that took place. Let's go on up the river. You're going to see a community called North Holston. I'm going to show you something really, really unique about this river. Okay. Just stay on it there and go on up a little ways. All right, keep on going.
North Holston?
Right there, North Holston. All right. You see that? All right, look at that. Looks like those ponds. You see the river? Okay, those are called the mine holes. So years ago, they mined underneath the river. They mined gypsum. And then I believe it was in the 1920s, the mines fell in, they caved in. And so all that river water filled up the mines. And this is known as the mine holes. And there's been largemouth bass in there for a long, long time. I believe fishermen probably went to South Holston Lake with their boat, probably caught some, brought them back in the live well and put them in there. There also used to be muskie in there. People didn't want the muskie around, I'm assuming, or they just wanted to say they got one. I've heard people shooting at them with rifles and shooting at them with bows and everything, but I've not heard of anybody catching a muskie. It's probably been 30 years. But I've had my kayak all over that, the parts that you can get to. You can see some of them, they're not connected, but you can see the water. The part that's connected, I've been all over it with my depth finder. The deepest part I've found is 45 foot.
That's crazy. Wow.
But there's largemouth, there's spotted bass, and obviously there's smallmouth in there. You can catch some big fish right there any time of the year. I pay close attention to the water gauge if the river's coming up. I just started out when I learned about the water gauge, I just went with the cubic feet per second. I didn't really pay attention to the height. And since I started that way, I understand that way. So this will give you some idea of the size of the North Fork. If it's 1,000 cubic feet or higher, I wouldn't get on it with a kayak. I don't feel safe 1,000 cubic feet or higher. I've got a good friend, however, he's got a jet boat, and he and I have been all the way up through there on his jet boat, but it's got to be over 1,000 foot, 1,000 cubic feet. And he and I put in down below this one time, and we went on upriver a couple of miles. It was in February, and of course, the river was up. It wasn't muddy. The muddy part had done settled. It clears up really quick. The North Fork clears up pretty quick when it gets muddy. But we went up a river pretty good ways, and he put on a clinic throwing a chatterbait. I had, at that time, I had never thrown one. I started throwing them after that. Trust me. But I was throwing a chartreuse spinnerbait, chartreuse and white, and I did okay. I held my own pretty good. But in all of this area of the mine holes, we fished that whole thing in his boat, and he was just absolutely killing them with that chatterbait. Big old largemouth, big smallmouth. I mean, it was unbelievable. But it's a good waterway. A lot of private property. That's another thing that helps the fishery. There's not a lot of access to it. But people are pretty kind in this area, and a lot of them are old school. You go knock on a door and ask permission. 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to tell you, yeah, it's okay. Go ahead and you can put in there or whatever.
Every angler knows the feeling. Your shoulder burns after a long day of casting. Your lower back and your knees feel super stiff from standing on the front of the boat all day trying to fill out that limit. You love being out on the water, but your body pays the price. That's why I keep Super Blue Stuff roll-ons everywhere I go. Tackle box, truck, home, glove box in my boat. I've been using their product since I was young, and the natural pain relief with the emu oil and herbs that works in about 5 minutes with no harsh chemicals, no strong medical smell. Just rub it on and get back to fishing. Spring season is almost here, so stock up now. All Fishing the DMV viewers and listeners will receive free shipping off of their roll-on orders when they use the code FISHING at bluestuff.com/fishing, or you can give them a call at 866-571-BLUE. Again, you can use the website, bluestuff.com/fishing, or call 866-571-BLUE and use the code FISHING. And if you're watching on YouTube, put your phone up to the screen right now and use the QR code, and that'll take you right to the website. Thank you guys so much. I swear by this product, and I think you'll like it too. Tactical Fishing Company is a veteran-owned fishing brand that specializes in soft plastics and hollow body frogs that are designed in-house. They collaborate with anglers across the country, giving you some of the best designs out there. If you haven't checked them out yet, you're really missing out. Their number one selling bait is the MRE, Minnow Ready to Eat Hybrid Swim Bait. It flat out catches fish. Whether you're throwing it on your favorite spinnerbait or bladed jig as a trailer, or using it as a standalone finesse presentation, it's one of those baits you can keep tied on all day and stay confident in. And if you're chasing snakehead, Tactical Fishing Company has you covered. They make some of the most rugged, durable frogs out on the market today, from the Dragon Pop to my personal favorite, the Rizzard. When it's time to try and tame your next dragon, they've got the tools you need to make the day on the water memorable. So go support a veteran-owned business, fish with confidence, and make every cast count. Check out Tactical Fishing Company, link in the episode description down below. All right, guys, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, Fishing ProTech. They are located outside of Williamsburg, Virginia, in Tuano, Virginia. If you're a serious angler, and I'm talking about a serious bass angler, you have got to go check out this shop. They have one of the greatest collections of JDM tackle on the planet. I'm talking Megabass, Depths, IMA, OSP. They got it all. And these are the baits that you're seeing on TV winning all those big tournaments. So if I were you, I would go down there and check it out, pick up the bait that's going to win your next tournament. I'll put a link in the episode description to their Facebook, phone number, and address. Tell them I sent you. Dale, you mentioned you were on a jet boat. From the limited conversations I've had and research I've done on this river, can you jet boat on it year round, or is it certain conditions if people wanted to vacation down there?
Well, your biggest obstacle is access. So if you put a jet boat in at the boat ramp we looked at right there, you probably can't go 100 yards upriver because there's a pipe runs across the river, and it would be you can't get under it or anything. There's another one on upriver just above that, so you can't go very far upriver. Downriver, you saw how it was at that bridge. You saw that old dam, and then you saw the other bridge down there. Now, with that being said, my friend, who's very experienced at running a jet boat, he's put his in there, and he's came down to where that dam was at. Matter of fact, those man-made islands I was showing you, I was there fishing on the bank one day, and I looked up, and there he come floating down on the his jet boat. And of course, knowing each other, we spoke to each other, and he said, "Hey, get on here." And so I got in his boat with him, and we stayed right there in that area. We fished there for probably a good hour, and caught a lot of fish. And then we parted ways and so forth. So they could launch at either boat ramp. They better know what they're doing, but they're not going to go far. So from the upper boat ramp down to that dam or to that other bridge down there where you get the Class 3 rapid right there, I'm going to say, just off the top of my head, maybe 1.5 miles would be your distance. Now you've got another boat ramp on downriver. If you want to go look at it on your map there, we can go there. I know he's put his jet boat in down there also. I've not went out with him down there.
Where is it at?
Keep on going a little further.
Clinch Mountain.
Okay, you're getting close, and you've passed it. You may have to zoom in just a little. Let's go up river just a hair, I believe. Keep going a little bit up river. Right there it is. That's your upper boat ramp. So years ago,
Wow.
I started a trail and ran it from 2016 to about 2023. We would always do our captain's meeting right there. We weren't using Tourney X, and the old days you took the picture on your phone, you just show back up with your phone. But we would have our captain's meeting there, and our check-in would be there. And first couple of years, really not knowing what we were doing, but we all absolutely love fishing. We would meet at 6 a.m. and we would have check-in at 7 p.m. And
Wow.
yeah, those, and of course, we thought we had to float. You got to float 3 to 5 miles. We've learned you don't have to do that. Matter of fact, now a lot of times I single access and I'll work upriver, and if I can cover a 1/4 mile and fish it well, I feel like I can do pretty good. But so you could put in there also, again, you want to look at the water gauge. You need the water to be at least 1,000 cubic feet if you're going to try to jet boat it.
1,000 cubic feet. Okay,
yeah,
that's good to know.
Cubic feet per second. I wouldn't do it any less than that. But there's some good holes close to this ramp, both upstream and downstream. Yeah.
What is and we don't have like if you got some information on this, great. The Tennessee area, you said you kind of dabbled in there 1 or 2 times. Same kind of topography? Is it the same width and everything, or is it a lot different the farther or closer you get to Tennessee?
As you the river pretty much stays the same all the way to Tennessee. It starts getting wider as you again, probably about Mendota. I feel like from Mendota on to Tennessee, it's wider than it is what we've looked at so far. Not really a whole lot deeper.
Okay.
I mean, I've been on the whole thing. It's just not, I would not consider it a deep river. You don't have to be in deep water to drown, but
true.
I just wouldn't
Very
consider
true.
it a deep river.
It kind of reminds me of the North Fork of the Shenandoah.
Yeah.
Where it's a little bit smaller, but I mean, still, it has great fishing. What if you would want a trail in VKBA, or let's say Virginia Bass, to go there? Would you want them? Do you think it'd be worth it for them to fish the whole river, or would you say, hey, listen, guys, the section closer to Tennessee or the section more up would be the better section to hold a tournament like that?
I think it would be hard for a big trail just because of the access. You've only got 3 boat ramps. You got the 2 that I showed you there in Saltville. The 3rd one is in Weber City. That's the only boat ramps you got.
That's crazy,
so
man.
If you follow the North Fork, a lot of it, you'll see a road next to it. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes there's a road on both sides of it. A lot of times, if the road is right next to the river and there's no fence there and there's no sign there, The state probably owns that. If you've got the app, the OnX Hunt app, right there is a good example.
Yeah.
Now, I can't say for sure. I don't have that app to look at it, but there's a chance that land between that river and the road belongs to the state. There's a chance. I'm not saying it does, but there's a good chance. And so that would be public. You could get in there as long as you can find a place that you could get your kayak in there. Now, everybody who's on the bigger level, who's tournament fishing now, for the most part, most of them, the way they have their kayaks rigged, and especially the bigger rigs, what's the big one from Bonafide? The
TRX.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with acronyms.
Right. And your Hobies, your Pro Angler 14. Gosh, I couldn't even imagine trying to put something like that on this river, even on down toward Tennessee. I just can't imagine. And when we first started the trail, there were already some guys who had pedal drives, and I think there were some guys experiment with trolling motors and fish finders and everything. And our rules in the beginning, we said no. And the reason behind that, we didn't want them to tear their stuff up. I mean, the summertime, if you do a float on this river, and years can be different sometimes. Some summers are more, you have more of a drought than others, and some summers are a little bit wetter than others. But most of the time in the summer, if you do a float on this river, you're going to come up to a spot that you got to get out and you got to pull your kayak. Getting in and getting out, if you're not at the boat ramp, you're probably going down a bank, putting in, coming out, you're probably dragging it up a bank. So, we lost some guys. They wouldn't fish with us because we didn't allow pedal drive or trolling motor or whatever. But our whole thinking in that was, you don't need it. We don't want, you don't want to tear your stuff up. But the first year, we ran a full schedule. First tournament, we had 50 anglers. And water was up a little bit, and I was concerned with everybody's safety. I was really concerned. I was worried. And so I made the decision. I allowed whoever wanted to go to South Holston Lake, they could go to South Holston Lake, and whoever wanted to go to the North Fork, they could go to the North Fork. And we'd been out there fishing for a couple of hours. My wife calls me and she says, "Hey, there's people turning over. There's people losing their kayaks." And I'm like, "Oh, Lord, somebody's going to lose their life and we're going to get sued right here day one coming out," But everything worked out. And matter of fact, there was 3 of us went together, and we put in near those man-made islands. And one of the guys started upriver, and I went on down to the lower island. I wanted to start fishing right there. And I caught one right off the bat throwing a chartreuse spinnerbait, and been fishing there for a few minutes. And the guy who went up the river, here he comes walking down the bank. And I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I just thought I'd go for a walk." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I sunk my kayak up there." And so he was trying to paddle upriver, and he had gotten so far, and the current, he just couldn't go any further. So he chunks his anchor out right there. And so it spins him around, and here he shoots down the river, and that anchor catches, and it just took his kayak underwater. And we like to never got that thing out. And he had on chest waders, and how he made it out of there, I mean, I don't know. But we worked for almost 3 hours just trying to get his kayak. And time we got it out, I was so wore out. I was done fishing. I couldn't fish no more. And so I headed on to the check-in. And but let me tell you something. So that tournament, we did places 1 through 5. We also did and we did this a lot in the early days, we did a big red eye and a big bluegill. First place winner did come off of South Holston Lake. His 5 were total inches more than everybody else. However, big bass came off the North Fork. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th came off the North Fork. Big red eye, big bluegill all came off the North Fork.
Why is it? There's another guy up here that ran a tournament, Chun, huge shout out to you. And he told me a long time ago, I think I first started this podcast, was there is this river called the North Fork of the Holston. And for some reason, when I do month-long tournaments, there's always people that win the tournament down there with big smallmouth. Why? What is the mystique around this almost trout stream and producing monster smallmouth?
I'm very familiar with what you're talking about right there. So that was in 2020, and we had an angler fishing with us. He was the first one to start experimenting with Tourney X, and he may have done it the year before. But anyway, he's talking to us, and he's trying to show us and get us involved. And he showed us. It was called, what do you call it? It was DMV bronzeback DMV, and was like, okay, well, let's try it. So his name was Scott Perkins. There was myself, Scott Perkins, Randall Combs, and Michael Woods. Michael Woods passed away last year. All great guys, tremendous fishermen, and so forth. And so we get involved with the tournament. And so as far as the waters, it was smallmouth only, any river in Virginia. Well, we were doing tournaments on the North Fork, and so that's what we chose. Not only that, us four are sharing the North Fork. Yeah, it's 137 miles, but we know the same spots, and we're going to the same spots. So I was looking at it the other day. I still got it on Tourney X. You can go back and look at your old tournaments. So the 4 tournaments that I'm showing, myself, Michael, Randall, and Scott were in the top 5 of every tournament. Now, where everybody else was fishing, I think a lot of them were on the Potomac. I think a lot of them were on the Shenandoah. I don't think we may not have had anybody on the New. The guys that were fishing that tournament were either from Potomac or Shenandoah area and us. There wasn't really, I don't remember anybody from James River. So I think that sort of played into it a little bit as far as why we were doing so well.
Why does this river produce such big fish?
Well, the warning not to eat the fish, so people leave them alone, and the low access. People do kayak fish it, but you just can't get you can't get into it and out of it anywhere you want to. Now, in our group, I've got a group on Facebook called the North Fork of the Holston River in Southwest Virginia. I have posted on there at different times. So if anybody wants to go and scroll down, they can probably find it, or even click the images. They can find it, or photos. They can find it that way. I shared, I think, about 15 floats where you can put in and take out. These are floats that I've done over the years. Now, where I put in 2012, I'm not saying you can put in there today. I'm just saying that's where I put in. And then this is where I took out. Some of those places include the bridges. So this is my understanding. Anywhere a bridge with a state highway crosses the river, the state has a right of way on each side of that bridge. So if it's state property, it's public property. So you can get in and out of the river next to a bridge. That's my understanding. There's places on the North Fork where a bridge crosses the river, and that's what people do. There's wide spots next to the river on the North Fork where people have been parking there since the beginning of time. People still continue parking there. Nobody ever says anything. We're in an area right here. I was thinking about this a while ago. We're in an area right here. And again, I'm 63. I grew up in a time, and it's still like this with some people in some parts. I grew up in a time you could hunt, fish, camp on anybody's property. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said a thing. That's changed a little bit, but you still find some people like that around here. It was just a way of life. Nobody minded you going onto their property and fishing. Nobody minded you going on their property and hunting. Nobody minded if you went and camped out on their property. It's just the way it was back in a different time, But you still have some of that here. Not a lot, but there's still some here.
Would you like, in a perfect world, or, you could just snap your fingers and make it happen, to see a couple more boat ramps along the whole thing?
Yes, I would. I've even thought about purchasing a piece of property. I I know there's some property that belongs to the town of Saltville. I know there's some property that belongs to the county, Smith County. Again, you've got Smith County, Washington County, and Scott County. But I know of a place in Smith County along the North Fork that belongs to the county, and it's just a little small lot, would be perfect for a boat ramp. Now, one of the game wardens told me, and this was maybe 2 years ago, that they were looking at putting some more in. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. I don't know. I did a video this morning. I was standing in a spot on the North Fork of the Holston River. It's just above Saltville. That landowner doesn't mind anybody fishing right there. A lot of people launch their kayak. They take out there. I've shared that in my group numerous times. I've made videos of spots that I know that you can put in and take out. It's considered public, and or nobody is going to say anything to you if you do it. They never have. That could change tomorrow, but up to till now, they never have said anything. And that's the kind of people. That's a testament to the kind of people you still have around here. You know.
What is the biggest smallmouth you've seen come out of that place, and what's the biggest legend or rumor you've heard of?
Well, my personal was 20 3/4. I feel like I've seen bigger than that. I don't know how much you talked to Jeff Little. He did a float. He did a video last year. When I was watching that video, I seen it pop up on YouTube, and it said new release or something like that. And I was like, well, I'm going to see what it's about. And he starts out he's in his truck riding along the North Fork. As soon as I saw the North Fork, I was like, he's on the North Fork. I know exactly where he's at. I'm not going to say what he said because I got it from another person who supposedly talked to Jeff. You get a chance to talk to Jeff, or anybody else wants to talk to him, let him tell you some things. Our first tournament, we had a guy catch, I honestly can't remember the exact size, but I'm going to say it was either 21 1/2, 21 3/4, or 22. And that's the biggest one I've seen in a tournament. Those guys I mentioned, those other 4 gentlemen, or 3 gentlemen, myself, Mike Woods, Randall Combs, Scott Perkins, we've all caught our share of 20s out of there before. Yeah. You're not going to catch a lot, and you may have to work to get one. Now, I'll tell you another story. We all have had the fish that got away. This has been 3 or 4 summers ago. River was really, really low, and I went to one of my favorite spots at a bridge. I did a single access with the intent of going upriver, dragging my kayak. I was going to cover about a half a mile. And when I got to as far as I was going to go, I had a monster blow up. And the sound and what you see, you can tell when it's a big fish. Throwing a whopper plopper, you can just tell. You can tell. He didn't get it, and I couldn't get him to do it again. But anyway, coming back down, there's a rock out of the water. Normally it's in there, but the water's so low, there's a rock out of the water. I throw down below that rock, and I'm coming up by it, and I get another explosion. And this fish looked really, really good. But he ends up getting my braid line over that water and broke me off. Either one of those fish, I would have just loved to have held and got an actual measurement. They looked really big. They looked really nice. They were big fish. But the 20s are there for sure.
Do you think, would you be shocked if a 7-pounder came out of there, or a 6 or 7?
Well, I would be highly shocked about that. So you get length, but you don't get as much girth down here. And I think that's because of the size of the river. Okay. I think a bigger river, you're going to get bigger fish. You'll get the length, and you'll get some good shoulders on some of them. Caught some 17s and 18s that look like they may have came off the Susky, or they may have came off of the New River. But the 20s that I've got, compared to a 20 on the New or on the Holston further on down, in Tennessee. They appear to be not quite as girthy. But nothing surprises me. Never say never, you know?
Never say never. I mean, especially because it's so isolated. Like if somebody did hit it at the perfect time and was able to float the whole thing or whatever,
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if there's fish there that have just never seen a bait, which is pretty crazy.
Right. Well, there's so below the lower boat ramp, when you get down, it's called Tumbling Creek, which is a trout stream. If anybody is in that area, let's take a look at that. I see you're going there.
Tumbling Creek. What town is it near?
It's not a town at all. Just Tumbling Creek. It's on it runs into the North Fork. It's below that lower boat ramp that we were at. You went to it the first time, and when you went too far. Yeah. Hold on.
We have to go way back because we're at the Tennessee line.
Go back some. All right, start zooming in there. Let's see where we're at.
We are at. There we go. Perfect. We are at Winter's Mill.
Okay, you got to come back south. You're in Tazewell.
Too far.
You're going west, sort of. Come back this way. Come towards the bottom of the screen.
I'm just like checking out. Okay, cool. Bluefields is right here. Boom.
No, come south. Now go west.
There we go.
Keep going.
Let's just find. Okay, found it. There we go.
Okay, now let's go below Saltville, downstream from Saltville.
Downstream from Saltville.
All right, now get in close to the river so you can find. All right, see where it says 40 acre? That's where your boat ramp's at. Go on below the boat ramp now. Go downstream a little bit. All right, hold on right there. You see Tumbling Creek?
Yep.
All right. Look up the creek just a little bit. All right, right there. Whoa, stop. Okay, so see that house right there on the right, that first house?
Mm-hmm.
That guy's name's William. If anybody wants access to get in and out of the river, go pay William a visit. He will write you access. All right, see the barn below the road there where it says North Fork? That's William's barn. And see the bottom right there next to the river bottom? You can get in and out right there. William will let you get in and out right there. So if you put in at the boat ramp, you want to get out right there. Now, what I'm leading to something, and this is what I'm leading to. So if you were to continue on downriver, now before you move your map, let me say this. So the river is going to horseshoe away from the road. There's not a lot of people go around through there. If you see right there where it says river, it starts getting really, really rough. That's a rough spot right there. So that'll keep a lot of people out. Plus, they get out right there at Williams. Now, if you want to go on around there and look, let's do that. There could be some big fish come out of there.
Would you go up or down? Would you go upstream or downstream?
Go downstream. See that rough stretch right in there?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And your trout stream runs in right there as well. But I would expect a big fish down through here. And there's some other spots that's a little bit rough as well. I've been around it in a kayak before. I've been around it in a one-man pontoon, the inflatable pontoons. But there's a couple more places like this on the North Fork. But those are the type of places you could catch an absolute giant. Nobody's going to them.
Dude, this is so cool, man. Why did you want to become a tournament director?
Well, so I've always enjoyed competition. I was an athlete in high school, football player, played a little bit of baseball, a little bit of basketball, ran track. So the competitiveness spirit is there, if you will. When I got out of the Army in '88, although I did not participate, and I still kick myself in the butt over this, but there was a group of guys here on the North Fork that were doing tournaments, and they would wade fish. They would start at 6 p.m. and they went to midnight, 2 anglers per team. They took a stringer with them because they're wading in the river. I believe their limit was either 2 or 3 fish per team. They would come to their truck. They had a cooler full of water in their truck with an aerator. They would put their fish in the cooler, drive to a central location, and do their weigh-in. they would post the information in the local newspaper, and the Saltville Progress, if you ever want to research that and look and see what some of those numbers were. But they were putting up some really, really good numbers. And so when I got into kayak fishing, which was right around 2014, I was just like, man, I'd like to see, them guys, they were successful with those tournaments. I believe we could do kayak tournaments. And so I didn't do anything until 2016. And actually that first year did one tournament. It was on a Saturday. It was Labor Day weekend. We had 15 anglers to show up. It created a buzz, and I created a Facebook group, started inviting guys in and, selling it. Hey, we're going to do a tournament next year. And so we decided nobody else was doing it. I wanted to fish tournaments. I didn't want to be a tournament director. I never did want to do that, but I wanted to fish tournaments, but nobody's doing it. So I stepped up and did both. So the first full year, which would have been 17, I think we ran 9 or 10 tournaments. And like I said, that first tournament, we had 50 anglers. Throughout that first year, the numbers dropped down a little bit, especially once people saw how tough it was to get in and out of the North Fork. Even when you had permission, you got to go up a bank or down a bank sometimes, and sometimes you got to drag your kayak. Everybody's not cut out for that. So our numbers dropped down, but we still averaged between around 25 and 30 through that whole season. And so seen a lot of guys get humbled. A lot of guys showed up, they were experts, but they didn't do so good in the tournament, so they don't come back. I'll be honest with you. The catch board, or the measuring board, back then it was the hog trough. The measuring board humbled a lot of us. In our mind, we had all caught 20 inchers every time we went out. And you get that first, you're thinking 20 incher, you're like, man, that's a pretty good looking fish. You lay it on the hog trough and it's 15 or 16, like, oh man, 20 incher is pretty good sized fish. But we knew they were there. We had caught them before, but we just weren't measuring and so forth, or didn't know the actual measurement. So that's the way it got started. I gave that up in 2023. It's actually known as Yackers for Smallies now. I had the hunger and desire. I was sort of getting burned out on the North Fork. I was already going to the New River. I was going to the Holston down in Tennessee. And so I wanted to take the group in that direction and start holding tournaments there as well, and start trying to grow and bring other people in. And so we had some success doing that. And then we started doing more online, and we opened it up. I decided to open it up all the way to the 40th parallel, which catches part of Pennsylvania. But I was trying to catch all of Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, and sort of make it even by not going past the 40, because didn't want the Susky in there. I didn't think, we could compete. But looking at it now, I think we would have done okay. Probably should have just let everybody. Didn't want Lake Erie in there, I don't think, but all rivers probably would have been okay. But you go out on the Susky, you can have a 90-inch day just about every time you go out there. That don't always happen on the North Fork. Good chance of it happened on the New and down on the Holston and so forth. But anyway, that's what we did. When you're the tournament director and you're also fishing and you're also being successful, that creates some problems in itself. And people start questioning things and so forth. So after a while, you just sort of get tired. You've done this long enough. Maybe it's time to step away, let somebody else have it, let change take place. A lot of times that's a good thing. Let them take it now in whatever direction they want to go. And I knew I wanted to start fishing bigger stuff. I wanted to get on the state trails and even the national. So I walked away, and 23 was my last year, and I let those guys have it. And my understanding, they're still going today and doing pretty good with it and everything. But I went another direction. But I do have a fishing group the North Fork of the Holston River in Southwest Virginia. We hadn't got to this yet, but I knew we would. We're trying to do a tournament on August the 4th. I'm sorry, April 4th. April 4th.
Okay, there we go.
April 4th. You can find it on Tourney X. All you got to do is search North Fork and come into the group, because we'll do the captain's meeting there live Friday night, April the 3rd. We'll do the live captain's meeting, which we need you to view, because that's where you'll get the tournament tag. And this is just something we started back in the old days. We like for everybody to comment, watched. That way they heard everything that was went over, and that way they can't say in the tournament, well, nobody told me. Well, you commented, watched, so we did tell you. But it's all written also on Tourney X. You know how it is when you've signed up for tournaments, you know how the info's on there and so forth. So again, that's April 4th on the North Fork. Now on that, let me say this. We're going to allow you to launch anywhere you want to, as long as you got permission.
Okay.
I've tried to help people show where I feel like you can probably launch here. I've told people if they want more information, once they sign up, I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm trying to sort of be a little bit careful about what I put out there now, because as you know, people are listening and they'll be in your fishing spot the next thing you know. But, it is what it is. That's part of it too, and we understand that. But, yeah, we're going to do a tournament April 4th. We've got 6 guys signed up so far. We've had a gentleman step up. The entry fee is only $25. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3. If we get more people, enough to have 4 and 5, we'll do that. We'll do a big fish. We're going to do a big red eye. We're going to do a big bluegill. A gentleman has stepped up and said he would pay for the trophies and everything. So I went today. I asked them what they wanted to do. Everybody said they'd rather do plaques instead of trophies. So I ordered 3 plaques, first, second, and third, and 3 medals, red, white, and blue.
Oh, cool.
Silver, gold, bronze, medal. And those will be the big bass, the big bluegill, big red eye. Let's see. I had a train of thought, went away, coming back. Got 2 different things going on in my mind right here.
Well, and as always, guys, I'm going to link everything in the episode description that we talked about. So you guys should just go click on the link for the old Tourney X.
Yeah.
You got any bucket list items that you want to do when it comes, now that you're going to be a free man here soon, you can just tour the country and fish?
Well, I don't know if you ever saw my 26 fishing schedule. I released it a couple of times. I had to add a tournament the other day in August, because where I'm fishing with Tennessee Bass Nation, their second tournament, which was on Watts Bar on the other side of Knoxville, I finished 9th out of 75, which I was like pleased to death, because the Tennessee, I've never fished any of those waters, and I was that way last year on the Virginia Bass Nation. Everything that I fished was brand new. So anyway, back to Tennessee, that qualified me for the state championship. So they released where that was going to be. It's going to be on Dale Hollow Lake, and it's going to be in August, and it fit my schedule perfect. But my August schedule, Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania, back to Southwest Virginia. Kerr Reservoir, Eastern Virginia, Virginia State Championship next weekend, back to Southwest Virginia. The next weekend, Dale Hollow, Tennessee, back to Southwest Virginia. And then the last weekend, I'm hoping to do a national event with Bassmasters on Wolf Fox River in Wisconsin. So that'll be my longest trip of the year, but that's my bucket list right there.
Dude, that's so freaking cool.
Yeah. Just fishing all the VA this year. I did all the VA last year, Virginia last year. I didn't do any Tennessee, but in asking about the Tennessee, they said, well, of course, there's the way I already made the state, finishing in the top 10, but they said if you fish at least 5, you probably guarantee yourself. So I penciled in 5 tournaments. There's a chance of, and then if you do good in those states, that qualifies you for the national championship. And so with the national series, my understanding is if you do at least 3 there, that could help you also. So I'm trying to get to the national championship. That's my goal. Also on my bucket list, I'm hoping to have a bass boat definitely by
Ooh.
this time next year. That'll be my first bass boat ever. So I'm a little nervous about that. I went back and forth on whether to do a jet boat or a prop. And I don't know if I got the nerve to run a jet boat the way it needs to be ran. When my friend Barry Luke took me up the river on that jet boat, we've done it that twice. I'm a man of faith, and I'm not ashamed to pray publicly. I was doing some praying that day. Man, oh man. There's a spot above those mine holes. There's a little island right out in the middle of the river. And if you stay river right, I mean, it's a pretty much straight shot. Well, Barry, he's going to go, you can go far river left, which would have been out of the question, but he decides to take the middle. So he's got to turn right and then turn left. And we turn right, and I think we're going up on the bank, and there's water shooting over the trees. And about that time, he cuts it back this way. It's like, oh, Lordy mercy. And that's when the praying really kicked in. And on up the river a little ways, there's an old swinging bridge that went across the river, and it's been gone for a long time. But part of the cable's hanging down, and the old fence is hanging down. And I had kayaked down through there, and I was like, I'm laying down in the kayak. I hope he don't get decapitated up here.
Oh my goodness.
But it was wild. It was wild. Good times for sure. But yeah, I want to get a bass boat. And so I'm going to go with a prop. Because of these tournaments, you have to fish lakes. And I've never been a lake guy, but I'm starting to figure it out and having a little bit of success. I got fourth up there at Sandy, and that qualified me for the state. And fifth. And last year I got fourth up there, and that was my first lake tournament, and no electronics or anything. And so I'm starting to figure it out a little bit. But yeah, that's my plans. A bass boat one day, and I'm trying to get to the nationals. So we'll see.
Dude, I'm rooting for you, man. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch you really tear up the leaderboard in kayak fishing and get into bass boat fishing.
Yeah.
Dale, I mean, this has been a fantastic conversation. Is there anything that we can promote or give a shout out to as we finish up here?
Well, just my main thing on this was that tournament. So again, our group on Facebook, it's the North Fork of the Holston River in Southwest Virginia, and we abbreviated that SWVA. That's the way we refer it to it down here anyway. And that tournament, which will be on April 4th. And again, you can find it on Tourney X. If you just search North Fork, it'll be the first thing that pops up. And as far as promoting anything else, gosh, I'm just feeling a tug in me right now. So I've got to say it. I'm going to lift up my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'll promote him anytime and anywhere that I can. And, people may have different views about that and about him, but man, he's changed my life, and he's blessing me right now. And there's a verse, I'm not going to quote the whole thing, and all I'll tell you is it's in the book of Psalms, and he makes mention of your cup running over. And I told somebody today, they said, how you doing today? And I said, my cup's so full, I'm drinking from the saucer. And so he's really blessing me right now. And hey, I'm all for it. If somebody else don't want their blessings, I'll take them. I don't want to be a hog or anything, but if you don't want them, I'll take them.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Guys, as always, link in the episode description to everything that we were talking about. Go check out the tournament that's coming up. You got a couple of days here so you can sign up and get on. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then as always, guys, go check us out on Patreon. It's $2.50 a month if you just want to donate. It helps us keep the lights on here. And then we still have a couple sponsorship openings left for the 2026 season. Get in on it now. You get grandfathered in. Otherwise, you're going to have to check out 2027, which will be at a higher rate. So go check that out. Just email me, fishingdmv@gmail.com, and we'll see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Aarons. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia, Tactical Fishing Company, and Fishing Pro Tech, located just outside Williamsburg, Virginia.
That doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.